stuff. And the first anime I'm going to be talking about, as you see on here, is Marrige Toxin. Let me go ahead and actually review some of the stuff I have, or at least try to go over as well. So, Marrige Toxin was actually an anime that some mutuals on Twitter we're talking about oh, this is gonna be so hype, everyone's gonna fucking love this shit. And I don't know, maybe it's just because my own social media feed has been more VTuber centric than anime centric, but I haven't seen many people talk about this one. Although to be fair, since I'm out of the weekly social anime loop, I feel like I haven't seen much of this actually being talked about. So it's kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird to see that happen. Not being able to see some of these stuff being talked about, but I will say I really like Marrige Toxin, man. This is one of those shows that I wasn't super expected. Thank you for the likes on the TikTok side. I very much appreciate it. I wasn't expecting the show to be the super pop off show that it was, because I mean I was okay. That's not true. I was kind of, because people were like, "Oh man, this is going to be a big talked about show." People were super excited. I'm not saying it wasn't the big pop off show that it was, but I did have a lot of fun with this. Actually, I had extreme fun with this, because it's basically about a dude who goes and he's part of this family of toxic the family of assassins whose specialty, it's all about toxins. And on the course of the 3 episodes, I'll explain how that's kind of cool in a sense, where it's oh yeah, they'll talk about the toxins and they'll talk about other stuff like that, and I'm just you know what, I like the way that they do that, but I am getting ahead of myself. And so because he's been a part of this assassin family for so long, he just doesn't have all the social aspects that a normal person would have. He wouldn't have the actual exploration of being able to go to school, or being able to actually have a relationship and have friends or have proper things. So he's kind of a loner, with the only exception kind of being his sister, which we do see. And it's a very interesting predicament, because obviously with a family like this, they would want to go ahead and continue the lineage in some way, shape, or form. But the sister is into the same sex. She's a lesbian. So she's just yeah, I have a partner, but there's not really a way for us to do that. Even though you could do adoption, but also at the same time, it's Japan. They might be weird about that with same-sex couples. I'm not 100% sure what Japan's whole exactly stance on that. And also at the same time, I kind of get it. Families like that tend to have it blood related, hence because and it actually does matter why it would be blood related in this sense. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of things in Marrige Toxin as well that does make a lot of good sense, which does make me really happy about it. Because it's oh, we need to continue the family lineage, and it's okay, wouldn't you just adopt somebody? If it's the idea of someone being super into the family and being able to do these skills, you could probably just teach these skills to people. I don't know why you wouldn't do that, but Marrige Toxin actually has a legitimate reason as to why adoption wouldn't actually be viable in this situation. So I actually like that. But yes, the sister is a lesbian, so her partner is same sex. They can't really adopt because of other reasons we'll talk about later. And we also go and we see the brother, the main character that we'll be following, who he does his thing, but he's very antisocial, and he's given what he's done and what he's about and his whole family associations, he doesn't really want a partner. So he's sitting there being yeah, the lineage will die with me. And the sister, I said, she could adopt, but it probably won't, that child won't be a part of the family. So, but we do see that part of him does want that. Part of him does want a family. He does want certain things. He does want to be part of a family in a sense. So I do actually understand that a lot of why he would want these types of things, but his family wouldn't like him to do that. But we do see him see the other character that we'll be following, which I fortunately forgot the name, but he's hired on by another group to be like, hey, we got this like problem in our organization. We need you to murk that character. And so she goes in and he goes in and he talks to this quote unquote girl. And he's just like, oh yeah, I gotta kill you and do all this stuff. And she's just like, oh well, if my time has come, then my time has come. But she also plays it up a little bit, being like, hey, that's not the case. And it's just, it's a really interesting, like, I don't know, it's a mixture of that character being super forward, but also the main male MC being super, like, not forward in a sense. Not in the sense of, well, like, very antisocial. So he just blurts out his feelings and the girl's just like, you literally just met me and you're already trying to blurt out these feelings. And she's like, yeah, I know, it's kind of weird, and it is, like, it's a little weird and stuff like that. But, I'm in a weird position already, so, like, what the fuck? And so he's like, all right, listen, you help me get a partner so I can, like, live a life or stuff like that. And, you can, or like you be my partner or some type of marriage stuff, right? So they make some type of deal where it has to do with like relationship stuff. And so he's just like, alright, cool. Let me go ahead and take care of this. This man takes out the whole room of people except for her, which is insane. Which also shows you how like legitimately strong he is, and it's actually quite terrifying how strong this man is. It's actually quite extremely terrifying. So then they like meet up later and stuff like that, only to find out that, go ahead and say quote unquote she, because she is not a he. And so like so we don't have a repeat of like the Kirara situation and all that stuff happening and yada yada. It seems like this character, I feel like I have their name somewhere, but this character is in fact. Male's character's name is Geto. Okay, I was looking at my notes and I'm just like, I feel like I have her name somewhere. But yes, main character's boy's name is Geto. I feel like the girl's name was a little weird to say. I can't remember. Where the fuck is it? Hold on. Give me a second hand. Where is his name? I could just main character's name of Marrige Toxin. Is it May? Oh, it's Ghetto. I heard Ghetto the entire time. Okay, so but it is Hikaru. So it's Hikaru and Ghetto, my bad. I heard Ghetto for some reason, but it's Ghetto, so that's my apologies. But they end up going back to the hotel. Ghetto finds out that Hikaru is not a she, it's a he. But yeah, he does do it for missions, but he doesn't necessarily change the way that he looks. He doesn't necessarily change the way he appears. So it does seem like Hikaru, just in general, really does like dressing up as a just like as a girl, which is fine. We are an extreme lover of the femboys here, so there's no judgment at all. Matter of fact, motherfucker looks cute for you, ask me. But obviously, Ghetto's sitting there being like, I have these feelings, but I don't know if they're like correct or how I should feel. And so he's just like, alright, okay, listen. How about this situation? I obviously it doesn't seem like you're super comfortable with this. I get it. I understand it. So how about I go ahead and help you try to find somebody to date and like, get you out of your little social bubble, do all that stuff, try to, explore that side of things, which is just like, oh, okay. I see. I understand it. So it's like, so that whole first episode is basically like establishing that and also trying for him to do like a bunch of speed dating stuff of being like, okay, we can try to do this, we can try to do that. And he's just like, oh, this man is more hopeless than we thought. Because again, Ghetto is antisocial. He doesn't know any of this, which I loved as much. It was very, it's very cute to see Ghetto try to go through all his little things and stuff like that, and trying to like, you know, navigate social norms at his age, and it's being like everyone else is already like strongly established. And so the second episode, Hikaru, after like Hikaru gets kidnapped by the brother of the dude that Geto ended up getting hired by and then knocked out by, is she goes off and he's just like, oh yeah. I also like how every person that Geto interacts with, and I at this point, it's pretty much every person, either they're like extremely charmed by him being like, oh yeah, you're not like all the other murderers and stuff that we see, or it's someone who's actually extremely evil gets bodied by him, and then they're just like, you know what, maybe a life of crime isn't what it's all cracked up to be. Maybe there's something else out there in the world that I can do that's not fucking this, which is honestly totally understandable. I completely get that. And so the second episode, Hikaru's like, oh, it's your sense of like kindness. We should jump on the kindness train for you, because once everyone knows that like you know, you have that charm and that kind, we can actually like, you know, help work that into trying to get you like a partner and stuff like that. And so it seems like the whole premise of this anime is going to be the fact that, you know, Hikaru is going to help Geto get with people, but it seems like instead of it being in the normie world, which is already kind of a problem given like trying to bring somebody into the normie world, into their world, kind of does seem like a big problem. It's going to be them just trying to charm people in their world, which makes a lot more sense. It's like, it makes everything a lot more understandable, and we also don't have situations like the invincible situations with Amber, which, you know, I'm wishy-washy on how I feel about the invincible Mark, the Amber whole fucking situation. That's a whole conversation for another day. But basically, episode 2 is them taking up this mission of, there's like another gang leader of a smaller group who like, they take paintings. They're like the Robin Hood of this whole inner, like, underground world, where they take paintings and they try to return it back to the actual rightful owners, which can be, like, kind of dangerous and stuff, but obviously they take some charge for it. They take some things for it, you know. They take payments and whatnot. And so it's just like, oh, okay. I see what's going on. I see the whole process of it all. And so that's their first job, and, like, basically episode 2 and 3 is basically that, and that's when it gets into like the actual shonen-esque stuff. Because I was wondering, because I was like, this is a romance, but obviously I've realized that romance can exist in both shoujos and shonen. It just kind of depends on like the perspective of it all. And so I was sitting there being like, okay, what's the shonen aspect? And the shonen aspect is actually really cool, because once they find the painting, they go through all that stuff. We see Hikaru and Geto have a little bit of more of a bonding moment, which is actually really nice. And so we see that there are other families that have special ways of actually, you know, murking people off. So Geto's family is able to use poison, and their ability is that their bloodline is able to take in poison in order to make them stronger, because the weaker they get, the stronger they get. So it's kind of that weird, like, debuff. It's kind of like, think of when you're playing a roguelike and there's those abilities where it's like, oh, you get, like, your damage goes up when your health goes down. That's kind of like Geto's bloodline ability. And, there's a person who's working with Paint Thief. I forget the Paint Thief's name, but her bloodline is able to manipulate water. Now this is where I was like, okay, I get that, but what the fuck? But I do kind of like it, where it seems like the trade-off for them is they're able to manipulate water, but they're not really able to interact with like certain clean air stuff. Maybe that's just her, but it seems like that's the trade-off. I would like it if every bloodline had some trade-off like that, because it at least balances it out. Because if she was able to just use water and not be fucked like that, it's like, okay, yeah, that's great, and that's like whatever. But I like the fact that, like, you know, we can make these things stupid strong, while also at the same time having like punishments for them, which also gives Gero a way to somehow deal with these certain situations and whatnot. And for the first part, Gero's getting his ass fucking kicked, but eventually him, along with Hikaru, are able to like figure out making it work, and the leader of the paint stealing gang, which in the second half of the episode he actually goes on like a date with, and I really like this. I thought this was actually extremely cute because as he's going off and doing this, we see that like this one basically what happens with that whole situation is Gero is going on like a date. It's either to like some aquarium or some place, and Hikaru like said them all like, "Oh, we should all do a group thing," and then doesn't show up, so it makes it a date. And so like they're interacting, and we get a little bit of her backstory. Now, if I was her, I don't know if I'd do the same. I'm gonna be honest with you, but also I admit I'm kind of a piece of shit. But basically, the whole thing with her is she, the girl who's like the leader of the gang that steals back paintings, she is somebody who was an orphan. Didn't know her parents, didn't know her family, but was only adopted because the gang leader she was adopted by basically realized that he didn't have an heir to his whole like fortune, and so decided, I'm just going to adopt somebody to take over. And so when that happened, she was raised in like wealth, had a nice life. And when her inheritance came, which was all these paintings that were basically stolen, she realized that like, oh, all of these paintings were taken away from their families, kind of like I was, and I don't fuck with this. And so her whole goal was returning all of the paintings and like using her father's wealth to basically find who the paintings belong to and return them back. And her whole goal now is to basically return special items that were taken from families, because like that's part of your family. You shouldn't be separated from them, yada yada yada, and all that stuff. And so like again, I respect the morals, I respect the drive, I respect the purpose of sympathizing with these families who have lost things and trying to return them to them. That's a lot of money. I don't know if I'd do the same. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if I would do the same. But I respect it. I respect it immensely. And, like, there's a cute little moment where, like, they're bonding. Because you realize that, like, that's the charm where I think is, like, them being in the same world. Because now it's kind of that thing where they're like, hey, we all live in, like, the same world and stuff. And we do all of these same little things. How about we do just, you know, try to bond. And, like, not try to bond, but, like date people in that world. Since people in that world semi-understand all of the bullshit that we go through, which makes sense. And so, you know, Gero's... I also really respect Gero for this, too. And you know what? It's this anime. And I think it's the Klutzy Class Monitor and the Short Skirt anime, where there are these... I feel like in the last... let's say 20 years, when any time anime makes like either a socially inept male character or a socially inept MC, or even sometimes a socially inept female character, they come off as like really cringy and really bad, almost like there's never a super big purpose for it. It's always kind of just like, yeah, this person's weird because they do weird stuff. Look at this person doing weird things. But I feel like over the years with like certain animes like these and Komi Can't Communicate and other anime, and even like the Agent of the Four Seasons that we're talking about today, they have taken like the socially inept or very like anxiety-ridden character. No, I don't want to necessarily say like neurodivergent characters, because that doesn't seem right for this. Because a lot of these characters I wouldn't necessarily classify as neurodivergent, but also characters that are just like, they've just been really removed from society. So a lot of them are, and that's a really good representation too. But I wouldn't classify all of them as that. But like, just like the socially inept / neuro divergent characters. And they're like, instead of just making them these like weird these weird people, they're more like stories that now explore why are they like this, how do they interact, and like they're not as scummy because especially with Ghetto, you see him being like, you know, any person right then and there would have asked her to like, oh, let's go out, let's do that stuff. But for him, he's just like, hey, do you mind if we be friends? And she's like kind of stunned for a little bit, and he's like, no, I do like you, but I only like just met you, and like we live in a crazy ass world, and it's hard for me to trust people. It's hard for you to trust people. How about we be friends? Make sure this is like what we want. And then if something comes of it, something comes of it. And she's just like, you know what? I fucks with that. Yeah, no, I actually fucks with that. And I fucks with that too. I sat down like, you know what, Ghetto? Fuck yeah. I like that. Fuck yeah. Now, I am a little worried now. Because Hikaru at the end of that episode was just like, awesome, I have your next date lined up. And it's like, dude, you can't just stick for one. There could be a whole fish in the sea. It's like maybe that girl is the one that you get. Or maybe that girl isn't the one that you get. And in a certain sense, I understand where she's coming from. I really do. I really do understand where she's coming from in a certain sense. But at the same time, dog. No. This will potentially turn into a harem, and I don't know how I feel about that. It's going to be very interesting. I don't know how I feel about that when it turns into a harem. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be crazy. If it turns into a harem, I'm going to be a little disappointed. I'm okay if it's he goes on date, girl interacts with him every so often, but then goes away and does their own stuff. I wouldn't mind that. If it's like, and maybe like one or two where like all the girls maybe talks, and even an episode where like they meet each other and they're just like, hey, this is like kind of not okay for you to do this. And like maybe makes him make a decision there, or he has to like deal with that problem. If it goes down that route, I'm okay with that. But if it doesn't, I don't know how I feel about that. But like no, I at least like so far Marrige Toxin I do really like. I like the premise. I like how it's broached. It's really fun. It's like genuinely nice. Let me see if there's any other little ideas that I missed. I feel like I had. Yeah, I guess seriously. I mean, like overall, yeah, this is mostly of what I said. Oh yeah, I know I compared it at one point to Dananan, mainly because I feel like in the shonen genre, okay, this is the one thing I also appreciate Marrige Toxin for. I feel like in the genre, not genre, but in the demographic of shonen animes and stuff like that, I feel like a lot of them are very scared to actually branch out and do anything new. And part of me does get it, because there's a lot of people that just don't want that. They just want like the constant fights and battles, maybe a little bit of lore, maybe a little bit of ability explaining. But like, it doesn't like happen all the time, and it kind of like, I wouldn't say frustrating, but it's definitely just like, okay, so like, do we or do we not? What's happening here? So like, I get it, but also like I do appreciate it. I do actually appreciate it a lot.